It's Friday, December 2nd. Let's talk PlayStation. Oh boy, what's going on? Like these are exciting times we're having, folks. I mean, really, there's just so much going on. I mean, last night we had the Game Awards, PlayStation Experiences on Saturday. Final Fantasy 15 just came out. Like, who actually believed that would actually like come out at some point? And then on the 6th, just a week later, The Last Guardian's coming out again. Cannot believe that's actually happening. Black Friday and everything just passed by, and Cyber Monday, so, I would assume a lot of you guys probably got some games and stuff for a great deal. You guys are very busy, going to be playing lots of stuff. Just the holiday season in general, that means there's tons of great games coming out. It's crazy. So much wild stuff going on, right? But at the same time, it's funny because I was looking for some news stories to talk about for this episode, and there's really not a whole lot going on in terms of super focused news stories, but exciting events and activities still going about. But anyway, let's go into our first news story, which was the Game Awards. The Game Awards 2016 was last night, as hosted by Jeff Keighley. This is the third year he's done it now, and actually, I like I said, when we've talked about this before, I like the approach that Jeff has taken. It really puts the developers, publishers, and everybody, those kind of people up front. Whereas, the past sort of award shows he did where he was hosting, I mean, they were just, awful and had celebrities that didn't even want to be there and didn't know shit about games, and we've always talked about that. But I thought we could actually just go over the winners list, because why not? Like I said, there's not too many things going on. So anyway, here are all the winners from the Game Awards. So the most anticipated game goes to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Best multiplayer game goes to Overwatch. Best sports and racing game, Forza Horizon 3. Best strategy game, Civilization 6. Best family game, Pokemon Go. Best fighting game, Street Fighter 5. Best role-playing game, Witcher 3, Blood and Wine. Best action-adventure game, Dishonored 2. Best action game, Doom. Best VR game, Res Infinite. Best mobile and handheld game, Pokemon Go. Best independent game, Inside. Games for the Impact Award, The Dragon Cancer. Best performance, Nolan North as Nathan Drake in Uncharted 4. Best music and sound design, that goes to Doom. Best art direction, Inside. Best narrative, Uncharted 4. Best studio and game direction, Blizzard. And overall game of the year went to Overwatch. So congratulations to the winners. And yeah, like, this is particularly for this show too. I mean, excuse me. Totally like how Jeff wanted to approach it. Always like putting sort of the developers and the actual talent of the people that make games up front, which I always like. But it was like very particular this episode, almost to the point this year, almost to the point where it was like almost a little hard to watch. There were certain moments where they kind of got dragged out. And it was just kind of like feeling like almost a little uncomfortable or awkward. That's at least how I felt watching some of it, and I know a lot of other people felt the same way, but it was still very important. I always like when developers sort of get more of the limelight. They do. They work insane hours to make these games. They work on them for 3 to 5 years at a time. They sacrifice a lot to, provide us all the entertainment that we so rightfully always enjoy. So again, congratulations to all the winners. And segueing nicely into our next news story. So the Game Awards had a few, sort of actual premieres and everything. Nothing too crazy. The big standout, of course, is Death Stranding. So Death Stranding actually got a new trailer. As usual, this trailer doesn't really tell us a whole lot. It's not no gameplay or anything, but in typical Kojima fashion, it's pretty odd. It's a little bizarre. It tells us more about the fact that this game is, really sort of weird, and we don't still have any clue what is happening. But we do know that somebody is going to be a new actor in the game is Mads Mikkelsen, I think. God, I had to look this one up just to say the guy's name right. But he's the guy he's been in he's, I guess, most notable for being in Hannibal. But he's a famous actor. And even more interestingly, you can look at sort of the imagery that Kojima released, and at the bottom you can see that the technical producer is Mark Cerny. So Mark Cerny is actually working on this game as well. So a lot of big names getting attached to this project. So even though, all that we've seen so far of Death Stranding tells us absolutely nothing about what this game's going to really be like, the fact that you've got such big names attached to it really tells you that this absolutely could be something special, which, you didn't need me to tell you that, but certainly is exciting. So the other news story I want to talk about was Final Fantasy 15. So yeah, it just came out. Great. About damn time that we actually have this game now and we can actually play it and enjoy it. Funny enough, I don't actually have it yet. The problem is just I have no time because I'm playing Pokemon still. And I had already warned you guys I'd be playing that probably well into January or February. But I want to talk about this because so basically the news is that the game has shipped 5 million copies worldwide. Pretty good, right? Of course, shipped means that it's not, those copies aren't guaranteed sold to consumers, but 5 million shipped. You would assume at some point 5 million copies will get sold of this game, obviously. But 5 million is a very impressive number, and what's more notable is that we had a Ryan on Gaming topic about this a while ago, where it was, will Final Fantasy 15 break even in terms of how much money it's going to make? The game has been in development for such a long time, so there was always sort of the question of, like, is this game even going to make a profit? Is this game going to see all of its money back after the development hell that it's been in? And then just recently, a few months ago, it was noted that Square Enix said that they need to see 10 million copies of this game to get sold for them to break even. That's their break even, is 10 million, which is a pretty high number. Of course, Final Fantasy is a big game, so it's not out of the realms of impossibility for them to hit 10 million. It's certainly happened before with video games, and especially the Final Fantasy franchise. So I guess right off the first initial number of 5 million shipped, seems hopeful. You got to keep in mind, though, that the first week of sales is literally like the bulk of your sales. The most important part of your sales is the first week, if not the first month. Games don't really have that sort of lasting retail appeal usually. Typically, the bulk of the sales are right when the game comes out. So to see 5 million seems good, but on the surface, it's like, well, if that's going to be your majority, you're going to have a lot of catching up to do. And again, it's 5 million shipped, not guaranteed sold. But I think the game will be on the cusp of hitting that 10 million, or at the very least going a little bit over 10 million. I can't see this game doing anywhere, I can't see it doing way past 10 million, like doing 20 million or something like that. I think that's pushing it. But certainly I think it could hit the break even, and if not, maybe a little bit over, like maybe 10.5, 11 million copies. I'm sure they'd be really happy if it goes upwards to 12 or 13 million, but I think it can hit that number. It would be pretty disappointing if they do kind of stall out at like 7 or 8 million sales, but they're obviously hoping for it because it's been just such a damn long time since the game has been in the works. Speaking of sales, we'll go to our last news story, which is about PlayStation VR sales. So if you remember a while ago, we were talking about a news story about an analyst firm, a retail analyst, Superdata, talking about they were estimating around like some absurd number, like 2.3 or 2.6 million PlayStation VR sales by the end of 2016. And that seemed like really crazy, like insanely optimistic, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to judge how VR was going to do, because just who really knows, right? It's kind of a whole new kind of device. It's asking a lot of money up front, and they need to be current PS4 owners. It's kind of a hard conversation to have back then. So just recently, they've lowered their sales expectations for PlayStation VR. Now they're estimating it to do around 750,000 by the end of the year, and they're attributing that massive downgrade to the fact that there is not as much marketing going on for PlayStation VR. There was hardly any sales for PlayStation, pretty much no sales at all for PlayStation VR during the Black Friday weekend. And they're also accrediting it to the fact that Sony is what it appears to be heavily supply constraint for PlayStation VR. It actually looks like it's kind of hard to find PlayStation VR out in the wild now in stock or online. There's certain, you can look around and stuff, but you actually might have a hard time finding it now, which is funny because I believe Sony said at the time that they would have plenty of units available going into the holiday season, but that's kind of like a number of things that they're kind of accrediting it to, and that's, I think 750,000 is a lot more realistic. I mean, just 2 million just sounded like crazily absurd for PlayStation VR. But even more so, I mean, 750,000, not only is it realistic, it's still really good in its own right if you are going to, say, compare it to HTC Vive or the Oculus Rift. 750,000 is a very respectable number if you are going to compare it to the small data that we have on hand. I couldn't believe that they were estimating 2 million. That just seemed a little bit crazy to me. At the most, I would assume 1 million, but now they've downgraded it to 750,000. They are also crediting it to the fact that Sony spent a lot more marketing resources on PlayStation 4 Pro, which a lot of people would argue, why would you do Pro and not something very important like PlayStation VR? But I think a lot of people also don't see the fact that you need a PS4 to play PlayStation VR, and a lot of times people say, why focus on PlayStation 4 Pro, because there's already this heavy negative connotation with PS4 Pro, but a lot of people seem to forget that a sale of PS4 Pro is a sale for PS4 in general. It's still a PlayStation 4. It's no different, really, aside from just the general performance upgrades that it receives. That's another person in the PlayStation ecosystem. That's another person that is viable to buy PlayStation VR or any sort of PS4 software in the future. Those are just some of the news stories I want to talk about with you guys this week. Like I said, it wasn't too much going on. But anyway, PlayStation Experience this Saturday on the 4th. Sony's going to have their conference and then a bunch of panels and all this jazz. So here's the really disappointing part that is really kind of, like, it's borderline pissing me off. It really sucks, but I'm going to be working all day. I just couldn't get the day off. It's, you know, a week. It's going to be on the weekend, so it was like really, I couldn't do it. So I'll be working all day. I won't be home till later at night. The conference is early in the day. Like, whenever Sony has a conference, whether it's Gamescom or E3 or PSX or Paris Games Week or TGS, we always did a video after with recap and impressions. I will more than likely probably not be able to do that this time. I mean, even by the time I get home, the news is going to be super old and late. It's just one of those things where it's like, I always try to be pretty timely about it, but you know, I'll be coming home real late, and like all the information will be out there at that point, and it's just like I only have Saturday and Sunday night to work on some other videos that I want to get done, because it's just like how my schedule works out. So I'm really not sure I'll be able to get a video out, so I'm just letting you know right now. PSX is probably going to happen. And big news is going to happen, and I probably won't be able to talk about it. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to mention. One of the big rumors is Marvel vs. Capcom 4, actually. That might actually be a thing. That's been like a big rumor going on, and that it might be at PSX because of the Capcom Cup, and the rumor is that, you know, obviously Iron Galaxy is developing it. Iron Galaxy, you know, Adam Boyes is now the CEO of that company. Adam Boyes used to be the VP of third-party relations at Sony, so there's kind of that relationship there, but this is all still a rumor and totally conjecture that it might happen. So that's like kind of a big thing that might happen. But anyway, so I will more than likely not be able to talk about it until like I wouldn't want to wait till LTPS next week, so I'll try and get something out. Maybe not recap, maybe just like strictly impressions or something, but just letting you all know right now, FYI. You have no clue how much this is bumming me out that this heavily focused PlayStation channel is not going to be like really covering the event, but hey, it is what it is. I gotta work and I gotta put food on the table. So anyway, that concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Ryan, but I can thank you all so much for talking with me, and I will see you guys next Friday.